Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, wherever you are in the world. Welcome back to the channel. Today I just wanted to break down like the cost of having all these vehicles, and I'm not gonna break it down too much as far as like taxes and things like that. And I might not have exact prices, but kind of like a rough estimate. But yeah, let's go and start off with the Abarth. The Abarth I've only had for about 3 weeks. The cost of the car itself was about $9,000. Since I've had it, I've added some headlight bulbs that are about $35. The insurance cost for this one is going to be about $460 or something like that. So that's a year. When I do tint the windows, that will happen. I'm sure that'll be like about $100. And gas, this one's 91 octane, but it's a small tank and it's pretty gas efficient. So it shouldn't cost too much long term as far as gas. Haven't had to do maintenance or anything like that, so that's pretty much it as far as the Abarth. All right, next up we got the Fiat 500, which belongs to my wife. Let's check it out. Okay, so now inside the Fiat 500, this car belongs to my wife. I've said it many times before, she bought it to learn how to drive stick shift. This one, you probably also heard me say that she paid only $5,000 for it. Now this one uses 87 octane gas. It uses the cheaper gas and has a small gas tank, but it's very fuel efficient. For a car that's not hybrid, it's pretty close to 40 miles to the gallon. I'd probably say it's less than that. It does have a sports mode, which doesn't really do much. So you're gas efficient pretty much all the way through. As far as maintenance, we've only done a oil change, filter, things like that, which was super cheap, probably only like $40 tops with everything included, and haven't done anything else to it. As far as insurance, super duper cheap. This thing probably cost her, I don't know, $100 a year, maybe less, probably $100 a year. So yeah, super low maintenance, but we rarely use this one. It is creeping up on 80,000 miles, but it's gonna take a while to get there. I think if we keep driving it the way we do now, which is pretty much not much at all. That's it really for this one. Pretty simple. Let's move on. Next we got the CT200 Lexus. All right, so for the CT200, this is the commuter car. This one's a little tricky because it's a hybrid, but it's also a hybrid as far as like the payments and things like that go. The car was purchased by Trent. It cost about $20,000. Maintenance was prepaid, although that round of prepaid maintenance already went through, so that was like another $3,000, but we saved, I think, $1,500 doing it that way. The warranty we totally took advantage of as well. Like, there were some things that went out, like the mechanisms for the windows, and I believe the door locks. Actually, the door locks, not the windows, sorry. The door locks, they all went out, and I think every single door got affected at one point or another, and the warranty covered every single one of them, so that was $0 out of our pocket as well. As far as maintenance, we only just started having to pay for it, but I think we might do the prepaid again, and I think each time we paid about $200 for some maintenance, maybe a little bit less for that, so that's like twice that we did that. And as far as gas, this is 87 octane. It's really fuel efficient, 44 miles to the gallon is what I'm averaging on this. Tinted the windows, about $100 something. As far as the insurance, I pay the insurance, I pay the registration. I want to say it's somewhere around maybe $600 for the entire year. So it's not too bad, I think. I think it might be the most expensive. No, it's not the most expensive for insurance, that's for sure. But it's pretty high up there. But still not too bad, I think, in my opinion. The tires we had to do once, that was super cheap on a car like this. I want to say that was maybe a total of $200 for everything, maybe even less. Cracked windshields on this car a few times, and at one point I did have insurance that covered it, so it was free sometimes. And at one point I had no glass insurance on it, and it got broken into like twice. So I think one time it got covered by insurance, the other time I had to pay out of pocket. And there is currently a rock chip on it that's pretty fat, and at the time that's not covered on the insurance. So it's no rush. We'll get that fixed at a later point. But yeah, that's it for the Lexus CT200H. Next. So now we are in the Lexus RX. This one is also my wife's car, and this one she pretty much fully pays just like she does with the Fiat. I believe when she first got this car it was about $19,000, and this is her first vehicle, so she's had it for a long time. As of recent maintenance or things like that, we think that there might be something wrong with the wheel bearings, or it might be something else, so that might be pricey. If that does come into play, you're looking well over $1,000 or maybe less depending on where we go. So we're not in a rush for that, but just because this vehicle is not used so much. She's currently using the CT200 while this one is kind of just sitting in limbo for a while. It is drivable, but with that whole issue, not going to drive it too much and going to try to get it fixed at a decent price. No rush, and we'll see where it goes from there. As far as insurance, probably one of the cheaper ones as well. Other maintenance things, the oil and things like that, pretty cheap, just like the Fiat 500. She's probably only doing maybe like the $50 or so each time just regular maintenance gets done. Nothing planned for it other than getting it fixed. We'll see, and yeah, that's it. Let's move on to the next. In the Porsche 987, now this one is definitely the most high maintenance. Wasn't the most priciest when we come to buying it. It was only $13,000. As far as insurance, surprisingly low. As far as registration, it's probably the cheapest as well, surprisingly. But when it comes to maintenance, had taken it to the Porsche dealership once. Big mistake. That one I spent well over $1,000. The cool thing is they gave me a Porsche Macan to drive around, which was dope. But yeah, never took it back to Porsche for maintenance. I instead took it to a friend's place, and he worked out of his garage fixing the air pump and some other things that were clogged in the engine, and got it ready for smog. Did the suspension or the shocks for me as well. I had to get those things done. All those things were musts to do. So we're talking about, you know, closer to $2,000 or something like that for everything all said and done, maybe a little bit more. And then I had the whole rim issue, tire issue as well. Those in a sense, yeah, it was a must as well. Didn't really have to go brand new rims, but I did anyways. Did have to get new tires though. So altogether, that was like another $2,000. And you know, it's a car that I don't even drive that often. I got the vinyl wrap done on this one. Again, not something that needed to get done, but I did it. And that was that one I did actually fairly cheap, but it still hit me for close to $2,000 as well. So yeah, I mean, altogether, this car that was $13,000, I've already, off the top of my head, not including you know, the insurance and the registration and the gas, which is 91 octane, and it's a big tank, and it's a gas guzzler on top of that. But just all those other things I mentioned, I mean, you're talking about $6,000 worth of things on a car that I paid $13,000 for, on a car that I barely use. So yeah, pricey, I would say, definitely very pricey, but I love it. One left, and it's not a car. Let's go. Here we have the 2016 Ducati 959 Panigale. This one, the Panigale, I purchased for $16,000. Now, I did have some insurance money from the 848. If you want the story about what happened to the 848, I'll link that in the description. That is quite a story. Heads up, it's not an accident or anything like that. It's a pretty crazy story, so I'll link that. Anyhow, with the 959 Panigale, because I had some money from the insurance, this one I ended up putting a fat down payment on it, so I didn't really have to spend too much. I prepaid the maintenance on that, which I just barely made it worth it, because I think the time spent with the bike versus the miles actually put in, the time was almost running out. I barely hit the miles to make it worth it. So, bit of advice: if you're not going to ride a lot, don't do the prepaid maintenance. Just pay as it comes. As far as this one, the insurance is the highest, I think. I pay for insurance on this bike in 1 year. That's like half the price of what I'm paying for 3 other vehicles. So yeah, it's pretty pricey. I rarely even use this one. I rarely use the Porsche. I rarely use this one. I'm barely going to use the Abarth. I mean, now given it, some of it is because I have so many vehicles, or we have so many vehicles in the fleet, a total of 6 vehicles at the moment. But really, it's even if Only if we had three, let's say we had three vehicles, I would just not be using this one that much anyways. So the insurance, given the amount that I ride, is super expensive in my opinion. For this one, I've done as many discounts and anything else I could think of to get the price down, and it is what it is, right? Gone through tires. I got a flat twice on the front, one while I was actually riding, which is a scary experience. I got the clutch cover, which is pretty sick, and you know, that one was actually fairly cheap. Wasn't too expensive. Carbon fiber parts, which altogether hit me for like about $500, which is too much, I think, and they barely fit. Gas is a 91 octane. Now the thing with the gas is this: it's a really small tank, so when you're filling up, it's not that much. It doesn't really hit you for so much money. But the thing is, it depends on how you ride this bike. If you are constantly on the throttle really hard, which you should be, yeah, the gas is going to be gone super quick. Now if you baby it, it's going to be probably more efficient than the CT200H, but that's just not how you ride these things. Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this breakdown of sort of, it was very high level pricing and maintaining and owning 6 vehicles. So if you have any questions or comments, please do so below in the comment section. If you like the video, please go ahead and hit that like button. If you haven't done so, please consider subscribing. That would help the channel a lot. Definitely have some plans that I want to do for all the vehicles I have, possibly another vehicle as well later down the line. But yeah, just really hope you guys are staying healthy and taking care of yourselves. But that's it for now. More content to come really soon, and I'll talk to y'all later.